Hey y'all, it's Pam with 44 Marketplace and Creative Finishes by Pam. And last week we started on my awful honey oak bathroom. And you can see I went with mermaid tail, but I stopped on the finish after the mermaid tail until I get my countertops done because I want to make sure that I have my countertops done so I know how I'm going to accent my mermaid tail. If y'all watched last week, you know that we went from honey oak to mermaid tail, and we're going to do a wash on here, but we want to get these countertops done. And so many people wanted to see it, so we're doing it live tonight. And the only thing I've done so far is I've cleaned the countertops really well, and I have coated them with Slick Stick. Now, when you're using Slick Stick, you want to put a coat on, let it dry for at least an hour, put a second coat on, and let it dry overnight, okay? So that's what we've done. We're all set, and you can see I've actually covered up my existing finish, and the reason is because as you can see up here, there's no clear coat over it or anything, and sometimes when you're doing your countertops, you might get a splash or something, and I don't want to have to repaint. So I've got all of my tape still up. Everything's taped and draped so that I can save my existing finish so that when I get ready to do my wash, we don't have to start over. If you didn't see last week's video, I'll tag it in the comments on here so that you can see what we did to paint this, and we'll get started. So now I want this countertop to have a travertine kind of feel to it. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to put a base coat of paint on here. Now, because of the color of my sink, I'm going to keep this kind of a neutral, but we are going to use several colors. Let me shake this back up. All right, so we got to get all of our crusties off here. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to get our finish on here first, our base coat. Now, this is not anything that is earth-shattering. We're just painting a coat of our French linen on here. When you're doing a countertop, you want to make sure and get long strokes if you can, so you'll minimize your brush strokes. You want to make sure that your brush stays nice and damp, and you want a good brush. Now, it doesn't matter if it's not real dark, because we want it to have light places and dark places in it, because if you've ever looked at natural stone, you know that it is not consistent in color. So we don't mind if there's a few light and dark spots because we're actually going to add some of those tonight. If you're watching and your local retailer is still selling paint, because I know a lot of small businesses are shut down, please be sure and tag them in this post so that we can all help out our local retailers. All of us need that extra little help right now because...
Could you use a small foam brush instead of a bristle brush?
You can, but you're not going to get as good coverage. You can use any kind of brush that works well for you, but I don't like a foam brush because I don't get the coverage that I like.
Kathy Rubenstill says hi.
Hey, Kathy, I miss you already. All right. Now, a lot of the backsplashes don't go up, but as this bathroom is set up, mine does go up. So you want to make sure you've got everything taped and draped, because a lot of times where these laminate countertops go together, there'll be a little dark line there, and you want to make sure that that's all covered up, okay? If you're watching this in replay, if the little red light's not on up in the corner, be sure and hashtag replay so that we know that you tuned in tonight. And y'all be sure to sprinkle this around, because I know a lot of people are sheltering in place right now with the coronavirus.
The base coat is what?
French linen is our base coat today.
And that's a Formica?
Yes.
Or laminate?
It is a laminate top. And y'all be sure to hashtag replay if you're watching. And keep in mind, I'm showing you this because I want you to know that you could do your countertops and your vanity in one day. So I know a lot of you are sheltering in place and you think, well, I don't really have time to do anything. But I mean, really, if you're sheltering in place, there's not a lot going on.
What did you put before you started painting?
I put Slick Stick. Slick Stick is for adhesion. And what you want to do is you put one coat of Slick Stick, let it dry for an hour, and then you put that second coat of Slick Stick on and let it dry overnight, okay?
No, you don't sand.
Nope, you don't have to sand. As long as your countertop's in good condition. Now, I guess if your countertop was all cracked and messed up, you might want to sand some, but typically, no, there's no sanding.
And you could do this on cultured marble?
Absolutely. You can do it on cultured marble. You can do it on granite. There's a lot of people that cultured marble has gotten stained up over the years, and this is a great way to update it. You can do this on tables, countertops, whatever you want to do. Like I say, sprinkle this around because I know there's a lot of people out there. Maybe even if your own home doesn't have this, maybe you've got a rental home or something that needs updating and you don't want to pay the money to get those countertops replaced. This is a great way to do it because after we do our finish, we're going to let it dry for 24 hours and then we'll go back over it with gator hide. And you put about 3 to 5 coats of gator hide, very light coats. And I have people ask all the time, can you roll the gator hide on? You can roll any of it on that you want to. I'm not a big roll fan. All right, we're going to finish this up over here, and then we got to do our edge.
Sandy saw Ridley. There she is again. Hello, Pitty Pie. What are you doing?
Well, y'all know at my house, we got squirrels and dogs and everything running around.
Here she comes. She's checking up on you.
I know. She's wondering why she's shut out of here. That's why. Okay, now when you're doing this, make sure you get all the way to your edge. And that's why we've got everything taped and draped. Because if you tape and drape, you don't have to really be so worried about where you may or may not get paint. Make sure you get all of those edges. Because like I say, where your laminate comes together, a lot of times there can be a little gap.
Lisa Denton says she started late, so we used Slick Stick and French linen. That's it.
That's it. That's where we are right now. Slick Stick and French linen.
Your bunny ears are getting in the way.
Sorry.
Yes, that's water she's using to mist her brush.
Yes. All right, so now you see we have a nice neutral top. And we're going to be feathering in some of this, so we're going to sit this over here for the time being. All right, so now you can see that we have a nice neutral top. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take coffee bean and we're going to take our little brush, an artist brush, and we're going to start adding a little bit of, we're going to add some veining to this. And you want to do that just lightly because we're going to feather it out anyway. So you can add as much or as little veining as you would like. And keep in mind, we are going to feather it out. So you can make it as dark or as light as you want because we're going to add a little bit of feathering to it anyway. If you want it up on the edges, whichever way you want it. And the best thing to do, some people do it with a string. You can do it with a thread. You can do it with sisal. Whatever you want to do, as much or as little as you would like. And it's really subjective because I want an organic feel to mine. All right, we're going to add a little bit more over here. What is everybody doing today? If you're not updating, if you followed me, you know we have been hard at work. We finished a kitchen and 3 bathrooms last week. We've delivered furniture to porches and garages and everything else. Social distancing, you know? All right. So now once you've gotten it to the point that you think you want it, what we're going to do is we're going to take this brush.
Is it a dry brush?
This is a dry brush, and we're just feathering a little bit. We're just trying to soften that color just a little.
I hear somebody coming up the stairs.
I do too. All right, now, like I say, you just want to soften this up just a little bit. And there comes the busy bee.
Isabel. Say hello, Isabel.
This is the one that y'all hear snoring most of the time. I know.
Sort of like that.
Yep. And now, if you soften it too much, you can always go back in and darken it back up. It's totally up to you.
What's the stuff you put on as veining?
This is coffee bean. And I just took an artist brush and rolled it around and dragged it around to give the veining that I'm looking for. Okay?
Well, nothing goes on around here that the dogs don't know about, so.
Oh, yeah. They have to be all up in the middle of everything. They feel like you shouldn't even get a shower by yourself. They want to be in there in the middle of that. All right. I know. All right, so now we've gotten our veining on there. Now we're going to go back in with one of our accent colors. We're going to go back in with Sawmill Gravy. So when I do the Sawmill Gravy, I like to have a box. My sponge is damp, but not wet. See, you can see my sponge is not wet. It's just damp. And what I do is I put it here, and I want to add a little bit of lightness right in there. I like to add it around the veining. And you want your box so that you can offload some of your color. And right now, I know it still looks like a hot mess, and everybody's probably thinking, what the haystack?
So something walked all over it.
And we don't even have a cat. If Mastiffs walked all over it, it'd be a bigger mess than this. All right. So you can see how we've added that in there. Now we're going to get our sponge, and we're going to get another color, because I want mine to have a little bit of a shimmer to it. Because why not, right? So we're going to take this, and we're going to add a little bit of Moonshine Metallics, Steel Magnolia. We're going to put that in there.
It's not really showing up on the camera.
It doesn't show up that much. It's a nice, subtle shimmer is what we're going for. So it's not anything that's going to be in your face, but we want it to have a little bit of a look to it.
Gives it a little depth.
Yeah, because if you add these colors, and if you want dark in there, you can add whatever you like best. You just want to make sure you offload your brush. And we're working as quickly as we can. Okay? We'll have to do the edges in just a minute. And Rick's going to have to keep you entertained for just a second. I left my paper towel. Hang on. Sorry.
I can't entertain. Here, the dog will watch. Oh, the dog's got to go with her mother. So, she forgot something. I don't know what she said she forgot. Paper towel, I think. She probably got some in here somewhere. I don't know what the corona. Hello, oh so chic.
Okay.
I hear her. She's coming back.
He could tell you what he cooked for dinner. That would be entertaining. All right. So now you can see what we've got.
It's getting hot up in here.
Now we're going to dampen this a little bit to reactivate our paint. And this is when the magic starts. All right, so now you're going to take your paper towel and you're going to blot it ever so lightly. And it's going to pull off some of the paint that you just put on. I think my light is heating up my room so much that my
paint dried.
Yeah, my paint is drying fast.
Tell us a joke, Rick. So a horse walks into a bar. The bartender just says, "Hey, why the long face?" I wonder if we can turn the light off. Ooh, it is hot.
It is very hot.
Let's see what happens. Ow. Sorry. Have we ruined your finish?
No. It's never ruined. We may just have to work on it a little bit more. Oh, yeah.
Spray some more water on it.
That's what we're doing.
It's looking very marbly.
Yep. That is the goal. Now you got to remember, you got to pay attention to the whole finish. So you can't forget all of your little places.
The spray is just water, just to
reactivate some of that paint, okay? That is our goal. And as your paper towel gets covered in the water and the paint that you're pulling off, you want to just keep turning it around and moving it. And then if it gets too much, you can always just get you a new paper towel. Because the goal is here to remove some of this paint. And if my light wasn't 150 degrees, my paint wouldn't have dried so quickly. But my light is warm, warm, warm. All right. Now, look at that. Can you see all of the striations and the variations that we are creating? And we've got places that are light and places that are dark. And now you can always put more color back in if you pull too much off. A lot of people panic if something doesn't go exactly right. If your paint gets too dry like ours has, add more water. Add more light color. Do something. Don't panic. What are y'all binge watching on Netflix or Hulu or whatever?
Dark. Have y'all watched that on Netflix? It's a German sci-fi.
Have y'all watched Tiger King? That's a hot mess for sure.
Stacy Stevens says Tiger King.
That is a hot mess, isn't it?
That is a hot mess. Could you use a sea sponge to dab instead of a paper towel? But
no, because it doesn't pull enough off. I've tried just about everything, but you need something very absorbent and something that you can change out. If you do it with a sea sponge, you're washing it out, rinsing it out, and then it's too wet when you put it back on there, and then it pulls all of your paint off in some places.
People are watching Heartland, Game of Thrones, Outlander.
Oh, I've never seen Game of Thrones, not even one episode.
Never heard of Rake.
I haven't either. All right. So can y'all see how in some places it's much lighter than others? And you can see that it has the veining and everything that we're wanting. And I still want a little bit more of my shimmer in here. So we're going to pull our shimmer back out.
Which is?
Moonshine Metallics.
What color?
It is Steel Magnolia.
Little Fires Everywhere. Is that the name of a show?
Oh, yeah. It's the Reese Witherspoon one. I heard great things about it. All right. So now with our Moonshine Metallics going in, it's going to add a little bit of shimmer over what we have done on here. And that way we can go back in and we have a little bit of softness in places.
Isabel.
All right. So now y'all can see, I don't really like this over here, so we're going to do a little bit more work on that one.
I can't get a different angle because it's a very small bathroom, so sorry.
Sorry, y'all. That's better. And now you can do whatever works best for you. If you like more color or less color, do whatever suits you. I'm going to go ahead and start on these edges a little bit. Now I know that my edges are going to be somewhat dry, and I'm opting not to do veining on my edges because sometimes people get a little too carried away with the veining and it doesn't end up looking very naturalistic. So we are going to do a little bit less. And remember, you want your sponge to move around. You want to make sure your sponge is nice and damp. We're going to go right up this edge. And now we're going to grab our paper towel and some water. We're going to soften that edge up a little. See how great that edge came out already? Nice and soft. So much better than just a plain old yucky laminate counter. All right, we're going to soften this up just a little bit up here. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? I wish you could see the shimmer, but I don't know that you can. But it makes a huge difference when you do it like this. And a little more shimmer right in there. And this is one of those things that if you let it dry, feel free to go back in and add another layer because sometimes the key is the layering. Sometimes you just want a little bit more off or a little bit more on. You just want it to have that nice weathered kind of feel. Now over your graining especially, you want to make sure that that's not too prominent because if you've ever noticed graining in travertine or in marble, it's one of those things that it shows up, but it's not super prominent, right? I'm going to put a little bit more light up here on this one. And this is one of those things that you'll just work on. And like I say, you can do your vanity and your countertop in one day. So it's not like it's something that takes a whole lot of time. It's not very costly to do the entire vanity. I did use several colors, but I only used a little bit of each one. So if you've got paint laying around, maybe that's what decides what colors you're going to use. I mean, if you've got drop cloth instead of sawmill gravy, that's the best way to decide. Don't go out and get 8 ounces of paint because you're going to need a ½ ounce of sawmill gravy. Just use what you've got because you just want a nice accent color.
And you can use different colors for the veining too, can't you? Aren't
Absolutely.
there like marbles that have like pinks or greens?
Absolutely, or blues or whatever. Absolutely. So don't think that you have to use the colors that I chose because you know what chose these for me? They happened to be what was sitting in the classroom today and I was like, oh yeah, those will be fine. And I did choose the metallics because I do want it to have a little shimmer when everything's said and done.
What if the sink and the counter are all that one piece kind of thing? Can you just stop at the sink? Or?
You can stop at the sink. You absolutely can stop at the sink.
Yes, you can do kitchen countertops too.
Yeah, we do. Rick and I do kitchens every single month. We've been doing them even while this is going on. We just finished a kitchen and 3 bathrooms in Forsyth last week.
And you're going to seal it with gator hide?
And we will seal this with 3 to 5 coats of gator hide. Absolutely we will.
And there's the edge. And there's the backsplash and the counter. Get kind of a shine off of it there.
Now the hardest part to get is right behind the sink. But now you can see we have everything done. And there's a couple places I'm not a giant fan of. And I'm going to show you how we're going to fix those. We're just going to pull out our little brush. It's just the Dixie Belle brush. And I'm going to touch it over here and just add a little bit more of my dark color in there. Because a lot of times you will pull off too much. So I want to show you, we did this on purpose. That's why we had our brush ready. And then what you do is we've got our dark color back in there. We're going to grab our Sawmill Gravy. We're going to go back in. And just soften that right up. See, look at that. Nice and soft again. That way, it gives us what we're looking for without getting too crazy with it. You know what I mean? And then if you want to go back in with your color, move your sponge around, get you a different sponge, and put your little shine back in there. Because I got to tell you, this Moonshine Metallics is the bomb diggity, y'all. It is the bomb diggity for sure.
No sanding between coats or before gator hide. There's no sanding at all.
Nope, none. All right, now let's let everybody see. You can see that it's got some shimmer and shine to it. If you want more shine, use more of the Moonshine Metallics. If you want less, you don't even have to do that. I also have dark colors in here. If you wanted to add some gravel road, if you wanted to add some of your coffee bean in there to have a little bit more of that, you can do whatever you want. It's all about an organic feel to your piece. I am going to tell you though, don't stay in the room with it too long because you'll end up pulling the entire finish off and starting over.
So butcher block, the slick stick would cover all that up, right?
Yes, it will. And a lot of times you may have pieces that have damage. If they do have damage, put a little bit of Dixie mud. You know, sometimes you'll have a corner that's chipped or something like that. Put some Dixie mud on there, let it dry, put your slick stick on just like you're painting the countertop, and you're good to go. I mean, you don't even have to worry about it. So
okay, so to begin with, from the start, you put down.
We cleaned it.
Oh, you cleaned it.
We cleaned it really well with Dixie Belle's White Lightning and a Scotch-Brite pad because Dixie Belle's White Lightning not only cleans it, but it deglosses it. And if you clean it with a Scotch-Brite pad, it almost scores it so it's ready to take paint. But as an added incentive so that I will have good adhesion, I put 2 coats of Slick Stick. I put 1 coat, allow it to dry, put the second coat on, and allow it to dry overnight. And then you put your finish on.
Your base coat.
Right. The base coat today was French linen. We put French linen all over the entire surface. And then we started with our veining with our little artist brush. You can also drag a string through your paint and drag it on here, whichever way you'd rather. And then we started with our colors. We used Moonshine Metallics, Steel Magnolia, and Sawmill Gravy. And we used a sea sponge to put those on there. And then we took our paper towel and we removed some of our paint. And you keep moving your paper towel so that you can move things around, so that you can change up your finish. Because if you keep your paper towel in one little fold, that's what your entire countertop will look like. And that's not what you want it to look like. You want to keep it moving. And as your paper towel fills up, gets full of paint and water and stuff like that,
get a new one.
Yeah, you just change it out. So you can see we now have our cabinets in Mermaid Tail, and we have our countertop. But now that our countertop looks like stone, we'll go back in and we'll do the highlights and lowlights to our cabinets. And we have our hardware coming from D Lawless Hardware. So that's why our drawer fronts are missing. Remember, we showed you last week that those needed to come off. And we're gonna, once we get our hardware and everything, we'll show y'all some pictures. But when we get ready to highlight and lowlight, we will make sure that you guys get to be here for that. We just have to let this dry for at least 24 hours before we do anything else to it, before we put our gator hide on. So it'll be later this week before we get to highlight and lowlight. I hope y'all don't have any questions, but if you do, please drop them right here. Like I say, be sure to hashtag replay, sprinkle this all around, and follow us at 44 Marketplace, because we'd love to help you. If you don't have a local retailer open, Rick, the cameraman, is our shipping department every single day. So we are giving away a free brush on all orders of $75 or more through midnight tonight. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a great evening and stay safe.